What does that mean?
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
We need the outlet for our rock tumbler.
Plug it in!
What, the rock tumbler or the TV?
The TV!
And as for you, I don't know you, but I'm sure you're a jerk. Hey, I've only been here a few minutes. What's going on?
By the powers vested in me by the Federal Communications Commission, I command you to get on the microphone in a serious manner and continue this broadcast.
Get a podcast.
So why don't all you little idiots press your faces up against the speakers and blow your brains out?
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekinGeek.net's RAM, or Random Access Memories, the show where me, Dave, and Ken, and whoever the hell else decides to show up can just talk about whatever. And because these are evergreen, you won't know when we record them, because radio and podcasting, the magical land. I don't know where I'm going with this.
There's no snow outside, so we can start with that at least on my end. I have no snow outside, and it's actually like my porch door's open. I've been enjoying the temperature, so there's a placement. You can figure it out from there.
Yeah, there we go. I am currently in week 1 of house arrest, so there's a clue. So yeah, guys, in this show, this one kind of came to me in the middle of the night, as most of my often dark thoughts do. No, don't worry, it's not that sad. I was listening to a album on Spotify, and I got really nostalgic. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad for me and my mental health. But this one was kind of a good memory, and I started thinking about, I don't know a lot of kids who grew up in the era of Saturday morning cartoons. And I figured you guys, specifically Dave and Ken here, would have an insight into things a little bit different than me, because I grew up in the 1980s. I was born in 1981, and I was a Saturday morning kid up until probably about 2001, when I had graduated high school. I'd moved in with my first serious girlfriend. I just didn't have a lot of time for a lot of Saturday morning cartoons, but I always kept my ear to the world of animation during that time. And I grew up watching He-Man, G1 Transformers in its original run, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Tiger Sharks, USA Cartoon Express, Hong Kong Phooey, all sorts of random cartoons that were just a part of my Saturday morning identity. But this is where I think a lot of us are probably going to cross paths here. I was a Fox Saturday morning cartoon kid for many, many years, because a lot of the local affiliates around me for television, back when over-the-air TV was kind of its own thing, I saw a lot of Fox stuff. So stuff like Bobby's World, Eek the Cat, Terrible Thunder Lizards, Tasmania, the Little Mermaid cartoon, but that was CBS Saturday mornings. But, just so many different cartoons. And I just want to hear about you guys. What did you guys grow up on? Like, what was your Saturday morning routine? What did it look like?
I mean, we're probably the last generation of Saturday morning kids.
I was literally just thinking about that, because that's the one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, just the fact that you've got a bunch of kids growing up in an iPad, a generation and whatnot. They can watch whatever they want when they want to watch it, for that matter. I still think of having to look at the TV Guide channel and figure out what was on, if not channel surfing and whatnot. And if there was one Saturday morning cartoon that I could always depend on, that I've probably seen every episode of countless times, it was Recess, the Disney show. Recess was one that I watched incessantly when it was on. I remember when it got the huge theatrical movie.
Recess as an adult cuts way harder than it should.
Much like Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold is the same freaking way. And Nick and Disney would do two things. They would either air popular TV shows, obviously, like reruns and whatnot on Saturday, or they would introduce new cartoons. And the amount of shows that I got introduced to, both by Nickelodeon and Disney, and it wasn't even Disney at that point. It was ABC, Saturday morning ABC or whatnot, because then you had like the Weekenders and Recess and a bunch of other stuff, Whereas on Nick, you could guarantee a SpongeBob, you could guarantee a Hey Arnold. And Hey Arnold specifically is one, I know I watched a lot of in general, but I remember Saturdays they would show a lot of Hey Arnold because like there'd be like marathons of it. And going back on Hey Arnold recently with adult eyes, that show is so freaking real. And it kind of, I was listening to a podcast I'm not going to name a couple weeks back, and they actually covered the Valentine's Day episode. And they were older gentlemen, I think like in their early 40s and whatnot. And they didn't really have a lot of nice things to say about it. And it was just like, dude, you just kind of had to be there. Like that show when it premiered, I remember, was a big deal. And then like its availability.
I remember more the finale.
Now, are we talking about the finale to the TV series or the finale movie that they released X amount of years ago?
The finale TV movie.
Okay, I know you're talking about. Yep.
Yes.
With Hey Arnold specifically for Saturday mornings, it seemed like they showed a lot of the earlier episodes because a lot of those later episodes got a little bit more deeper into things.
I saw the one where they rescue the dolphin so many times.
The dolphin or the turtle?
The turtle, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rosca, I can't remember his. I can't remember what his name is. Yeah. But no, Hey Arnold was a big one. Like I said, SpongeBob, you could always guarantee SpongeBob would be on Nick because once that show hit in '99, it took over. Like it was,
and it's
SpongeBob
still running.
SpongeBob would even have like Saturday blocks and whatnot. So, the essential stuff like that, totally watched. Now, if we run ourselves over to Fox, one of my guaranteed Saturday reruns that I would always freaking watch, and I actually went back and revisited the show recently, and it is awful, is Mystic Knights of Tyrannog.
Oh my God!
Which
I
was...
never thought I'd hear that referenced on this show. Holy shit.
Which was a show that young David latched onto because of the medieval aspect of it. And, I didn't watch that show. What's funny is I didn't watch that show religiously. Like Power Rangers, I watch religiously. TMNT, the original 80s cartoon, watched that religiously. When it came to Mystic Knights of Tyrannog, I would catch it in certain sections with like huge portions of story missing by this point. Because the one thing I realized about that show going back and watching it, they really just threw whatever they could in an episode. And it didn't matter if it was 6 subplots or 3. Like, they just went and stuck the wall with it at that point. But yeah, I remember Mystic Knights of Tyrannog was one that just always encapsulated me because it had fighting and it had effects. And then going back and watching it recently, I was just like, these effects are like fucking video toaster quality.
Speaking of video toaster, I'm going to go with Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century.
Holy shit. I never thought I'd hear that referenced either. Holy my God.
Oh,
I
adored that by far, Sherlock Holmes 22nd century, one of the best Christmas episodes ever. It's literally just it is a toy gnome talking shit to Sherlock Holmes the entire episode.
Yep, that definitely rings a bell.
And at the end of the episode, they willingly give Moriarty the gnome, and then the gnome starts shit-talking Moriarty.
Now, I've got something that'll blow your fucking mind in terms of a show I'm guessing you guys probably never saw. Has anybody here seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures?
I saw it simply because I came to Bill and Ted actually really late in my life. Like it was on TV, like played on cable a lot, but like when I first actually sat down and watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it was in 7th grade, and it was our monthly movie that my one teacher had picked, Mr. Arthur, who I was in his class, and 2 of the 4 classes left and went to recess because that movie was quote unquote not appropriate and they didn't want to get calls from parents. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you had five quads that basically took the entire 7th grade class on this side. And out of the 5, like 3 of them dismissed to recess while the other 2 actually finished Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Because apparently Napoleon throwing his hands on the bowling alley floor and saying shit with subtitles was just too much. But I came across Excellent Adventures simply because I was looking into all of Bill and Ted at that point, which, you know, at that point was Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey, and then Excellent Adventures. And it kind of has the same realm of a Saturday morning cartoon like Back to the Future cartoon did. It just, it's not bad. It's not good, but it's entertainment. It's entertaining. Like they're fun.
Yeah.
The thing that I really liked about it is the fact that they got the entire cast back together. George Carlin, Alex Winter, Keanu Reeves, they all came back and reprised their roles. And I was like, I like a lot of licensed cartoons. Like I grew up on the Ninja Turtles. I'd seen almost
You're an 80s kid.
Oh yeah. Like I'd seen everything up until CBS stopped showing Saturday morning cartoons. And I can specifically remember when this stopped. And this is really going to fucking date me. So hold on to your fucking hats, kids. Hold on to your pogs. There was a CBS Saturday morning news broke in, and it was about, I want to say it was Judge Clarence Thomas of your Supreme Court who got accused of putting something really nasty into somebody's drink. And CBS had covered this. And I remember that was the death of Saturday morning cartoons, because I remember tuning in one morning and it was this lady in a blue blouse just talking. And I was like, where's my cartoons? Where's my Ninja Turtles? Where's my Garfield and Friends, which is another thing I'm going to talk about. But yeah, it was just like, there was something about Saturday morning cartoons that was so utterly magical that I'd never seen things before. Like, for example, did you know Macaulay Culkin had his own show?
Yeah,
it was called Wish Kid. Yeah, see, nobody Wish I know fucking remembers that. Well, another one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I pride myself on knowing weird friggin' shows.
I have that a little realm too.
Did you ever see the New Kids on the Block cartoon?
I know of it.
Now, I used to love this next cartoon. It's another CBS Saturday morning hit because I love the movie. And I think me and Dave have talked about this movie in a weird kind of way. Mm-hmm. I think we talked about the movie House Party.
Yeah.
Did you know Kid and Play had its own cartoon?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was people don't realize that like Rambo and RoboCop had their own cartoons. Like there was a period where if a movie did well enough, like they would sanction a show for it. And I mean, it was the heyday thing of the 80s. I mean, fuck, so many people don't even know about Camp Candy. I mean, I learned about it when I did that show with you and Alex on for the Christmas special. But then going back and looking at Camp Candy, it's just like they really would just absolutely try anything they could for a TV series. I mean, you had, like we said, the Mummy series in the last episode when we were talking about franchises. There was the Mummy series. There was also the Here Comes the Mummies, or it was a Mummy series. What is it?
Mummies Alive?
Mummies Alive, maybe? Damn, I can't remember. It had the mummies were creepy in that show. I remember that.
And they had superpowers, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's right on.
Mummies Alive.
Okay. Yeah, and then I also think back to like the Mask TV series, which is
Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura. Yeah, I mean it was just it got to a point where if they could do it, they did it. I mean, one of my all-time favorites that I can always guarantee was on Saturday was Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget was just an absolute blast.
That is a staple of Canadian television. Because there was a channel up here called Global Television, which is run by Global Can West. And every single day, Monday to Friday, you would always get an episode of Inspector Gadget at 7:30 a.m. It later changed to Power Rangers and whatever was popular at the time, but you could always count on Inspector Gadget and Care Bears in the morning. But yeah, like that show was great.
So I know both you guys are Fox babies. I was Warner Brothers, and that was WB Kids.
WB Kids had some really good. I mean, Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond is there somewhere. Legendary.
Yeah.
But I loved Sylvester Tweety Mysteries. That theme song is embedded into my skull for the rest of my life.
Yep.
You have all of the DC stuff: Batman Beyond, Zeta Project, Static Shock.
Did WB Kids do the reboot of Johnny Quest? That was an updated version. Yeah. What was that? What was that called? Like Johnny Quest something Force, and like that one I remember watching a lot. And then I also remember WB Kids had Freakazoid.
Freakazoid,
love that show.
Yeah,
I was really into Mucha Lucha, Ozzy and Drix, the Osmosis Jones TV show spinoff.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot. See again, I mean Godzilla the series. That was one that WB Kids had. I mean that there was a heyday in there where we just took movies and made shows.
One of the most underrated friggin' franchises, and I'm so mad that they still have not put an actual full release of this show out. Shaolin friggin' Showdown.
I remember. I do remember Shaolin Showdown.
Shaolin Showdown was the premiere. Like that was a soap opera for me. That franchise is just pure soap opera goodness, especially as it progressed, because it just got more interesting as the story kept going. And then they had the whole spin-off that ended up having only Canadian talent because it was made entirely in Canada. So the only
was it on the same time as Jackie Chan Adventures?
Shaolin Showdown was in the same era as Jackie Chan Adventures. Yes.
I was gonna say because I feel like
Jackie Chan Adventures is another one that's also in my brain. Like that was fantastic.
I always liked shifting over to Cartoon Network real quick. I always had a super weakness for a pup named Scooby-Doo. I thought a pup named Scooby-Doo was really, really fun. Like, let's see the mystery team as they're young kids, like solving mysteries still, and they always blame the one bully.
Scooby-Doo is so close to my damn heart.
And
what's hilarious is there really isn't bad Scooby-Doo.
No, and I'll piggyback off that, Ken. The later movies are really freaking good. I just watched last year Camp Scare, and Camp Scare is basically like, what if Jeepers Creepers and Fast and the Furious got involved in a Scooby-Doo mystery, and it fucking works.
You know what made me love Scooby-Doo? When they did the Supernatural crossover.
Oh, the crossovers in general. I mean, Scooby-Doo mysteries or movies have always been an absolute blast.
Well, Scooby-Doo has always been open to crossovers. Like, back when they first started in the 60s, like they were doing crossovers with Batman.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see it was done completely using AI, whatever. Did you guys see the one where it was Five Nights at Freddy's with Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, I saw some bits and pieces of it.
It was so well done.
One of my favorite things in the last few years have been that horror artist that keeps writing main horror characters into Scooby-Doo frames. Like there's one where they're meeting Captain Spaulding. There's one with Angela from Sleepaway Camp.
I've seen that stuff.
Yeah, those are super cool. But then going back to the movie thing again, there was Jumanji the series, which I remember also watching on Saturday morning one time. And it being really bad.
There was
the art style was really weird on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was one show, and Dave, you'd kind of talked, you kind of brought this up, where if someone was successful, for some reason they got a show, and there are two ones. That one I'd never seen, but there was a Roseanne show called Rosie at one point.
Yes, there was.
But the one that I remember watching a lot, and it only got one season of, I want to say 13 episodes, was Rick Moranis, and it was called Gravedale High.
I remember hearing about that, yeah.
And it was basically, what if you took Rick Moranis as a high school teacher teaching monsters? So basically picture Rick Moranis versus the Groovy Ghoulies. And it was so weird, but it was so fun. Like there was like the fish monster, there was Vinny the Vampire, an overweight mummy for some reason. Frankentyke was like a little Frankenstein dude. and the Invisible Man, and it was just really wild. But Rick Moranis, again, just came out swinging for the fences in that, because that was probably one of his last major things before he did the Honey, I Shrunk franchises, and then he kind of semi-retired from acting.
Yeah.
And look after his wife and everything. So,
yeah,
like that's one I clearly remember. And I seem to recall CBS and ABC taking a lot of risks with their cartoons. Like, I remember when Disney was working really close with ABC and CBS, you got the Aladdin series, which you got
Aladdin, you got
Little Mermaid,
Aladdin,
Lion
Little
King,
Mermaid,
Lion
which was
King.
Timon and Pumbaa. You had Tarzan. You had what was it? Hercules had one. 101 Dalmatians had one.
The Hercules series is super underrated.
I feel that way with the Aladdin series. We're going to be talking about Aladdin, and Return of Jafar was a fucking pilot for the series.
I think the most memorable moment between Aladdin and Hercules was the crossover episode.
Yeah, that was a legit episode. I do remember that.
I'm just gonna
just to rattle off some other stuff from Kids WB. A lot of anime. This is the introduction to anime for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, like Pokemon, obviously.
Yep.
Obviously. Digimon,
for me,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, Digimon was Fox.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yu-Gi-Oh. And remember Cubix?
Vaguely.
I remember the name Cubix. I don't remember much about it.
It was weird.
There was one show which I wish more people would talk about. And again, mostly because of the casting. Tim Curry is a fucking brilliant voice actor.
Tim Curry is a goddamn motherfucking legend.
Yes,
he did a series on Fox Kids called Peter Pan and the Pirates.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For a long time, as a kid, I didn't like it. But as I got older, I'm like, this is really fucking clever. It was well animated. The voice acting never felt phoned in. Tim Curry is an outstanding Captain Hook. And I just absolutely loved the fun of that show. And another one that I don't know why this got a TV show, because it was based upon a B movie with fucking George Clooney. If you know where I'm going with this, it's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Fucking wicked show. It looked way better than it should. Like, and again, maybe one of my first animated crushes with the girl who was the tomato. Maybe that says something about me and redheads. I don't know.
Talking about kind of sexual awakening Saturday morning cartoons, X-Men Evolution.
Oh, yeah, fair point.
I remember specifically the season 1 finale of X-Men Evolution was a 2-part finale. They made a big deal out of it. It was super cool. You had Scott meeting his brother for the first time in forever, and they save the day at the end, and it's this epic blast. You got Havoc doing his blasts and Scott doing his blasts, and just freaking epic.
Birdman, I did think of 3 that you forgot to mention in our list of movie ones. Police Academy, for one.
Yeah, I saw that in its original run.
And then there was also the Karate Kid cartoon, short-lived.
Never saw that. Yep, go on.
And, last but least, Chuck Norris Karate Commandos.
Oh, God. Yeah. Chuck Norris and his Karate Commandos. I remember the ridiculous over-the-top announcer voice. Or like, I get you, Norris. It's just so fucking wild. And I think, what was the bad guy's name? It was something dumb like Super Ninja or some bullshit.
Let's see. There's Pepper, Chuck Norris, Super Ninja. You're right. Yep, you're right.
Oh my God. Although one show that I'm kind of surprised it doesn't get brought up as much in conversation, because there were 2 shows based upon this franchise, and it's a video game show, technically, Carmen Sandiego. Now, there was the original one that was put on by PBS, which was Do It Rockapella, which fucking awesome. Don't fuck with me. But the one on Saturday morning with the brother and sister was fucking amazing. Like the design of Carmen Sandiego.
Heck, the Netflix series is actually pretty epic too.
Yeah, like, and again, holy shit, where the fuck did you come from? And again, it was wild. And like, even though their computer looked like the floating head of Harold Ramis as Egon Spengler, which is a little weird, but okay, sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, like that's a series that was really incredibly well done. It was infotainment because you learned a lot during it. And again, just fucking brilliant. And I don't think we get cartoons like this anymore, which is really fucking unfortunate.
I think it's also surprising that we genuinely didn't get a Dick Tracy like reboot series when the movie came out, let alone like a Phantom series, because I feel like those two cartoons would lend themselves very easily.
There was a Phantom 2049 cartoon. We did have Defenders of the Earth, which is weird. I can't remember because that series came out in like the mid 80s, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how I saw it, but I've seen all of the episodes, and I wish I could understand how, but that theme song for Defenders of the Earth fucking slaps.
I believe you had that in your rotation for Forgotten Saturday Mornings.
Oh my god, I was waiting for someone to bring that up. Yeah.
Hey, dude, that was kind of, that helped me as a narcoleptic when I was in high school. So, hey.
So for those of you who want a brief history lesson, once upon a time when streaming services were only just becoming accessible to people with web cameras, way back when I used to host a Friday evening cartoon stream called Forgotten Saturday Mornings, and I would watch shows from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. Sometimes we'd watch a shitty movie, but more often than not, like, hey guys, we're going to watch an episode of Battletech tonight. Here's Bobby's World. Here's Video and Arcade Top 10, and Milky died for our sins. If you've been around since that long, you're fucking sad. Starcade forever. But yeah, it's like amazing just to think about like the history of weirdness like that. Like, Saturday mornings, they are so incredibly special. Like, and even some networks in Canada tried to start their own version of like a 24/7 cartoon thing. Now, you guys in the States have Cartoon Network, which has now become Adult Swim, which is more adult oriented humor. And I love as of this recording.
Well, Cartoon Network still exists. It's just the Adult Swim block has expanded to
everything.
Larger.
Yeah.
To a much larger portion of Cartoon Network's programming.
But Cartoon Network also had that classic lineup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But especially with the Toonami stuff.
Like in Canada, we had, if you wanted cartoons in Canada, your choices were YTV, which is how a lot of us found anime, which is how we saw Sailor Moon, Gundam Wing, Dragon Ball Z, all the shows that you mentioned, Ken, like Shaman King, etc.
I mean, Cartoon Network pulled some stuff from up there for their own programming later on. Like, we got your Total Drama stuff.
Yep.
Which that franchise fell off a cliff real fucking quick.
Oh yeah, like it's amazing just to see like the different variety of things that happen between countries. Like I was saying, we had YTV, but we also had another network called Teletoon, and Teletoon would show anything from everywhere. Like you would get Batman, but you'd also get Scooby-Doo. You might get Thundercats. You would get Pokemon. You would get Inspector Gadget. You would get like newer series of Power Rangers kind of later on. And but you would also get stuff late at night that would pull from the MTV blocks, because there's a very famous Canadian show which they've been trying to make a movie for years, and the director does post updates every so often, and his name is Pete Williams, and the show Undergrads. Not a direct Saturday morning cartoon, but a wonderful piece of adult animation you should totally check out. But yeah, like I remember one of the big things I used to watch on Saturday mornings, because you mentioned X-Men, I remember being there for the premiere of Night of the Sentinels. And I remember, and I've probably told this story a few times on Twig, but in very short, way back when television was delivered over the air or sometimes via satellite, we had this giant dish in my backyard, which was there until my parents passed away back in 2016. We still had a giant satellite dish in our backyard. And once upon a time, you would use something called transponder channels, and you would pick a number between 0, 10, I want to say, all the way up to like 200 something. And you would have about 24 to 48 channels, give or take. And sometimes what would happen is television affiliates would broadcast a master episode of whatever it was. So the local television affiliates in, say, Toronto or New York or Buffalo, wherever, they would record that satellite feed. And during that thing, they would have commercials that were baked in that were evidently paid for. Like, they might be like a Tyco hovercraft commercial or like a Nerf gun or whatever, but it would say insert commercial break here, 1 minute 30. So for years, this is how I found this, guys, and this is, I think, kind of fun. So I used to be, and still am, a very big X-Files fan, and X-Files used to air on Fox on Friday nights. Now, my parents lived in front of the TV. I'm pretty sure that's where my grandmother died. It's morbid, don't ask. But I remember one night I would usually get the TV from my mom and dad, or my adoptive mom and dad, around midnight. So I was watching the X-Files because we knew of a Fox affiliate that we'd found, and it would rebroadcast things for the West Coast. So I'm watching the West Coast feed of X-Men, or not X-Men, of X-Files. Cool. Show ends. Neat. There's a break that beep, which is tone, which I can explain what that means if you guys ever want to know why you set tone. So anyway, I'm watching the X-Files, Mulder and Scully get away. I think the episode, I want to say the episode I remember this happening with was a first season episode called EBE with Max. Classic episode, fucking fantastic. Episode 17, I want to say. Anyway, so I'm watching this, and all of a sudden, Fox Kids cartoons. What? Fucking Batman comes on. What? So I'm watching this, and it's just the entire Saturday morning lineup that would play from 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. So 4 o'clock rolls around one night. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What the fuck is this? The X-Men? And I am watching the premiere of Night of the Sentinels late one night on Fox. And I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? So whenever my parents would let me have the TV on Friday nights for like 2 years, I would be up and I would stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning every Saturday night to watch the Fox Kids television block at midnight from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. I could see everything before anybody else did in the world who didn't have a fucking satellite dish. And it was the coolest thing ever. And then when Spider-Man, the animated series, came out, I was like, oh my God, I can't go to bed now. Fuck sleep. And I would just watch this from grade 7, 8, and into high school. I would watch this stuff. And it was such a transformative moment because I'd go to bed at like 5 a.m. I'd get up at 8 o'clock and I'd watch the CBS Saturday morning block, and I'd watch the ABC Saturday morning block. I couldn't find a transponder channel for them, and then up here in Canada, specifically on Global, on Saturday afternoons, they would play the entire afternoon was kids television or action adventure. So you would get stuff like Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, fuck you, Kevin Sorbo, but you would get Xena, you would get Young Hercules with the guy from Barbie. You would get episodes of fucking Dennis the Menace from CBS. You would get Inspector Gadget. You would get all these cartoons that were older but people still like I'm pretty sure I've seen the entire run of the CBS Dennis the Menace through at least 5 times. And I've seen every single episode of Inspector Gadget, but it's amazing how much Saturday morning very much shaped who I was. And it's all because I remember just randomly finding this Fox rebroadcast in the middle of the night. And it would be strange because then I started experimenting with stuff. And I know that sounds weird and sexual, but it's not, trust me. Although I did figure out a way to hack the Spice Channel. Yep, I was that guy. But I remember I would find stuff like fucking Dino Saucers, which is another fucking banging 80s theme song. I would find Silverhawks. I would find all these weird things. And I remember specifically, I stumbled because I stayed up until 6 a.m. one morning. I forgot we had the USA Network. So I discovered by accident USA Cartoon Express, which then led me to a show I did with Hen a couple years ago where we talked about USA Up All Night.
Mm-hmm.
And that would lead me to B movies. I'd see all the Friday the 13th this way. I'd see Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'd see like Return of the Living Dead and all that stuff. And I was just so enamored with this pop culture where I grew up in Southern Ontario was very much blue collar. You play hockey, or you're a farmer, or you're some schmuck. Being a nerd was definitely not fucking in. And it's amazing that how much, like I said, just the Saturday morning influence of cartoons, high sugar cereal, Nerf guns, and Transformers commercials led me to ultimately who I am today. Saturday mornings were so transformative for me that literally I have an Autobot tattoo. Like I've got like stuff that represents pop culture all over me.
I just want to give one last shout out because it technically did some Saturday morning blocks, but wasn't fully a Saturday morning cartoon. Codename Kids Next Door.
Oh,
Heard
yeah,
of it.
absolutely.
What is that?
So, Codename Kids Next Door is basically, what if kids were superheroes and the adults were the supervillains?
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's in that same time frame as like Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Yeah, I dare say every single full half-hour episode felt like a movie, and when they actually made a goddamn movie, it was the most epic thing ever. The writing on that show was superb. Its series finale was superb. It does it built upon itself this great mythos and this philosophy of when you become a teenager, you lose your innocence, and as a result, you are decommissioned as a member of the Kids Next Door. So they basically wipe your memory of all of the cool K&D stuff that you do.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
And it gets really emotional, especially with the movie, because it turns out that number one, who's ostensibly the main character of the series, his dad was the greatest member of the Kids Next Door of all time. He was the original founder of the Kids Next Door. And when he gets revived, when his memories get revived, and you find out he is the most badass person ever, and you get this really good moment where Nigel is with his dad, and they get like a legit father-son moment, and he has to decommission himself at the end of the movie, and this beautiful goodbye speech that he makes to his son, because when he turns into adult, he's just like the goofy old dad kind of guy, and it's so emotional. Like, that the writing on that show is superb. It's one of the I dare say it's one of the best series that has ever come out from Cartoon Network.
And to piggyback off his superb, I do want to wrap in with one more WB cartoon that was always on Strictly, and that was Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah,
You could always find a rerun on Saturday morning, and
Of course.
that show is so perfect. I don't think people realize how good it is and how great it was. Even on a rewatch that I've been doing recently, there's so much amazing writing in those stories that you're just kind of like, I can't believe this is a Batman cartoon that is absolutely aimed at kids, but more so had an adult audience, because that was when the people were really tying into Batman at that point.
Oh, one of the greatest episodes.
Almost Got 'Em's one of my favorites, where they all talk about
Yeah.
how they almost all got
I love.
Batman.
Have you seen the Pokemon version of that? That Kid
Yes,
WB
I've seen
aired?
that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I've seen
incredible.
that.
Christmas with the Joker. I think Christmas with the Joker is one of the best episodes of all time, and it's simply just the Joker breaks out on Christmas Eve, and I mean, and chaos ensues.
The alt universe where, well, we don't know it's an alt universe, but we find out it's an alt universe.
The story where Barbara gets shot.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a fantastic.
That is a episode. Knowing the story behind how and why they did it the way they did it because of censorship.
Yeah.
Somehow the censorship made it worse.
Oh no, it absolutely did. I mean, it's it has that what's the word I want to use? It has that recognition of this was definitely a choice that had to be made because of standards, and you get more impact because of that. One of my other favorites that kind of has that same realm to it, even though it's really not that bad, but Bat in the Basement, where the little kid has Batman in his basement. It's like you can tell they're trying to shy away from violence in that episode because they can't show it because Batman's technically knocked out. And it's so freaking great how they do it. So, I mean, the Batman animated series, we could do an entire episode on that series.
I would love to do that at some point, because I've seen most of it, but not all of it. The two shows, there are two that I want to shout out for separate reasons. One really informs my sense of humor, and when I mention it, you're going to know exactly what fucking show I'm talking about. We've already mentioned it briefly, but Freakazoid. That show is me to a T, because it is so fucking random and idiotic that it's like
it's
me.
It is intelligently idiotic.
Oh yeah,
intelligently idiotic is a great way to put that, because that show has that same mindset as Animaniacs, where they're going to throw stuff at you. Yeah, they're going to throw stuff at you, and it's going to be references you either get or you don't.
Yeah, like there are two gags in that show that three gags that I've never quite forgotten. And the one is I think it was Candle Jack, like one of these bad guys. And this really guy with no emotion in his voice is like, now presenting Scream-O-Vision. Scream. And it's just randomly, it would just pop up on screen. Scream. And it was just so dumb. And then they made a cutaway gag. And unless you were a fucking movie industry dork, you had no idea who this asshole was. His name was Jack Valenti. And he's just got this cartoonishly caricature-sized head. He's like, hi, I'm Jack Valenti. I've got dimples. See? And it's just, what? And it's like, what the fuck is that? Who are you? And then my other favorite gag, anything with Cosgrove. But my favorite, Ed Asner. He's like, hey, Freakazoid, want to go watch a bear ride a unicycle? Do I? And it's like, that's me. I'm an intelligent fucking idiot child. That's me right there.
Well, that's also the Harley Quinn series on HBO right now, is that same style of humor. It's smart, it's raunchy, and it's funny. And it's just like that. When you have that kismet, you can't deny that it's a good time.
Oh yeah.
Like I think I can say what I want about the Harley Quinn series. It's just not my jam for the most part. I've seen clips I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I'm like, okay,
it's funnier than it should be, which kind of surprised.
It's funnier than it should be.
It's way more violent than it should be too, and I love that.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then the other show I want to mention, because I don't think the show gets nearly enough love, but it made me appreciate the Muppets more than you might think. It was very short-lived, but it was called Dog City. And Dog City was the story of Elliot. I can't remember his last name, but he was a cartoonist living in Dog City who penciled this cartoon strip about this detective named Ace Hound or something, and his girlfriend Rosie, and this little kid who looked like the Dick Tracy Kid character against this guy called Bugsy, who is this ridiculously pug. And it was a Dick Tracy cartoon, but with puppets and animated segments, and it was just so charming that it always stuck with me. But I always thought not enough people like it, because I don't think it was on Fox Kids for very, very long, but it never left me, because again, I'd never seen anything like a Dick Tracy, but it also had this weird self-referential humor where the dog Ace would be like, "Hey, Elliot, could you get me out of this?" And he'd talk to the cartooner, and you'd hear Elliot go, "Oh yeah, sure, hold on. Let me erase that fucking rope around your side or whatever." And again, I just really like that style, and I don't know if it's ever gotten a proper release. There's probably episodes on YouTube.
It's on Tubi here in the States.
Yeah, it's so worth a watch. It's
and
such
also
a time capsule.
Also, wait, I'm. It's also like sort of. It's on one of those weird Amazon Channel ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait, this thing has 3 fucking seasons.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Because you wouldn't expect a show like that to get that much effort, but nobody seems to remember it. But again, it was just so well done for its time. So, guys, thank you for joining us on this very roundabout excursion through Saturday mornings, late nights, and everything else, from Batman to talking dogs to watching a bear ride a unicycle and way weirder shit. This has been a fun time. I'm really glad we got a chance to just kind of talk about this, about whatever. So yeah, so I guess before we get out of here, is there any cartoon in specific, I'm going to start with Dave, that you recommend people absolutely go check out if they could only pick one from your kind of childhood?
Oh, then it's gonna have to be Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold has aged so beautifully. It has so many real world topics in it that are wrapped up in a kid's teen cartoon, basically, that still relate. I mean, we're talking about poverty. It deals with alcoholism. It deals with bullying. All these facets that and things that people run into, whether they have kids, work kids, that sort of thing. Hey Arnold is just a perfect time capsule of when children's cartoons used to really have good writing behind them, and that's no shade to anything that's on TV now. It's just there is a point though where it's just I do watch some of the stuff that some of my friends' kids watch, and I'm just wow, there's more entertainment value in there than there is anything else that would probably be viable for it. But Hey Arnold, it just aged beautifully. It's readily available now. It's got so many great episodes. There's the really good laughs in there. There's some tear-jerking moments. I cannot recommend Hey Arnold enough.
Fantastic. Ken, what about you?
Honestly, you can't stream it technically, but you can watch it through purchasing it, but it is the entirety of Shaolin Showdown, which is weird because you would think it's on Max, but no.
There's a lot of things you think would be on Max, but no.
And I guess for me, again, this show really made me fall in love with Tim Curry, Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates. And then if you can go out on YouTube and find clips of Tim Curry from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad as Kilo Khan, he's a fucking joy. Meat thing. It's just such a joy. And I'm so glad that's how I first got into Tim Curry, because then I would fall into Rocky Horror Picture Show and then Muppet Treasure Island, etc., etc. But it was Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates was my first exposure to Tim Curry.
He's dead, yeah. And this is supposed to be a children's movie. It's my favorite line from Muppet Treasure Island.
So, like, guys, please go check these out. If you can purchase them, great. If you can stream them, wonderful. If you have to, make yourself a veil of the high seas. Do whatever you can. Check out these shows. Hopefully, we've triggered some wonderful Saturday morning memories for you. So, again, as we close things out from the great city of Troy, Ohio.
We have been David Denoyer of Do You Even Movie.
From New Jersey.
Ken from This Anime, and honestly, anime has become my Saturday morning cartoons.
That's fair.
I love it. And I've been Mike the Birdman saying, after these messages, we'll be right back. Boom.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.